Jai Shri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Gadadhar, Shrivas, Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. It's time for Krishna book. And tonight we have one of the all-time favorites. This is Volume 2, Krishna book, summary study of the Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And it is Chapter 12, The Deliverance of Dvivida Gorilla. This is one of the all-time favorites. While Sukadeva Goswami continued to speak on the transcendental pastimes and characteristics of Lord Krishna, King Parikshit, upon hearing him, became more and more enthusiastic and wanted to hear further. Sukadeva Goswami next narrated the story of Dvivida, the gorilla who was killed by Lord Balaram. This gorilla was a great friend of Bhaumasura's, or Narakasura, who was killed by Krishna in connection with his kidnapping 16,000 princesses from all over the world. Dvivida was the minister of King Sugriva. His brother Minda was also a very powerful gorilla king. When Dvivida gorilla heard the story of his friend Bhaumasura being killed by Lord Krishna, he planned to create mischief throughout the country in order to avenge the death of Bhaumasura. His first business was to set fires in villages, towns, and industrial and mining places, as well as in the residential quarters of the mercantile men who were busy dairy farming and protecting cows. Sometimes he'd uproot a big mountain and tear it to pieces. In this way he created great disturbances all over the country, especially in the province of Katwar. The king of Dwarka was situated in this Katwar province. And because Lord Krishna used to live in this city, Dvivida specifically made it his target of disturbance. Dvivida was as powerful as 10,000 elephants. And sometimes he'd go to the seashore, and with his powerful hands he would create so much disturbance in the sea that he would overflood the neighboring cities and villages. Often he would go to the hermitages of great saintly persons and sages and cause a great disturbance by smashing their beautiful gardens and orchards. Not only did he create disturbances in that way, but sometimes he'd pass urine and stool on their sacred sacrificial arena. He would thus pollute the whole atmosphere. He also kidnapped both men and women, taking them away from their residential places to the caves of the mountains. Putting them within the caves, he would close the entrances with large chunks of stone, like a bringy insect, which arrests and carries away many flies and other insects, and puts them within the holes of the trees where he lives. He thus regularly defied the law and order of the country. Not only that, but he would sometimes pollute the female members of many aristocratic families by forcibly raping them. While creating such great disturbance all over the country, sometimes he heard very sweet musical sounds from the Raivataka mountain, and so he entered the mountainous region. There he saw that Lord Balaram was present in the midst of many beautiful young girls, enjoying their company while engaged in singing and dancing. He became captivated by the beautiful features of Lord Balaram's body, each and every part of which was very beautiful, decorated as he was with a garland of lotus flowers. Similarly, all the young girls present, dressed and garlanded with flowers, exhibited much beauty. Lord Balaram seemed to be fully intoxicated from drinking the Varuni beverage. His eyes appeared to be rolling in a drunken state. Lord Balaram appeared just like the king of the elephants in the midst of many she-elephants. This gorilla, by the name of Dvivida, could climb up on the trees and jump from one branch to another. Sometimes he jerked the branches, creating a particular type of sound, gila, gila, so that Lord Balaram was greatly distracted from the pleasing atmosphere. Sometimes Dvivida would come before the women and exhibit different types of caricatures. By nature, young women are apt to enjoy everything with laughter and joking, and when the gorilla came before them, they did not take him seriously, simply laughed at him. However, the gorilla was so rude that even in the presence of Balaram, he began to show the lower part of his body to the women. And sometimes he would come forward to show his teeth while moving his eyebrows. He disrespected the women even in the presence of Balaram. Lord Balaram's name suggests that he's not only very powerful, but he takes pleasure in exhibiting extraordinary strength. So he took a stone and threw it at Dvivida. The gorilla, however, artfully avoided being struck by the stone. In order to insult Balaram, the gorilla took away the earthen pot in which the Varuni was kept. Dvivida, being thus intoxicated, with his limited strength, began to tear off all the valuable clothes worn by Balaram and the accompanying young girls. He was so puffed up that he thought that Balaram could not do anything to chastise him. He continued to offend Balaramaji and his companions. When Lord Balaram personally saw the disturbances created by the gorilla and heard that he'd already performed many mischievous acts all over the country, he became very angry and decided to kill him. Immediately, he took his club in his hands. The gorilla could understand that now Balaram was going to attack him. In order to counteract Balaram, he immediately uprooted a big oak tree, and with great force he came and struck at Lord Balaram's head. Lord Balaram, however, immediately caught hold of the big tree and remained undisturbed, just like a great mountain. To retaliate, he took his club by the name of Sunanda and began to hit the gorilla with it. The gorilla's head was severely injured. Currents of blood flowed from his head with great force, but the stream of blood enhanced his beauty, like a stream of liquid manganese coming out of a mountain. The striking of Balaram's club did not even slightly disturb him. On the contrary, he immediately uprooted another big oak tree. After clipping off all its leaves, he began to strike Balaram's head with it, but Balaram, with the help of his club, tore the tree to pieces. Since the gorilla was very angry, he took another tree in his hands and began to strike Lord Balaram's body. Again, Lord Balaram tore the tree to pieces, and the fighting continued. Each time the gorilla would bring out a big tree to strike Balaram. Lord Balaram would tear the tree to pieces by striking of his club. The gorilla Dvivida would clutch another tree from another direction and again attack Balaram in the same way. As a result of this continuous fighting, the forest became treeless. When no more trees were available, Dvivida took help from the hills and threw large pieces of stone like rainfall upon the body of Balaram. Lord Balaram, also in a great sporting mood, began to smash those big pieces of stone into mere pebbles. The gorilla, being bereft of all trees and stone slabs, now stood before him and waved his strong fists. Then, with great force, he began to beat the chest of Lord Balaram with his fists. This time, Lord Balaram became most angry. Since the gorilla was striking him with his hands, he would not strike him back with his own weapons, the club or the plow, but simply with his fist he began to strike the collarbone of the gorilla. The striking proved to be fatal to Dvivida, who immediately vomited blood and fell unconscious on the ground. When the gorilla fell, it appeared that all the hills and forests tottered. After this horrible incident, all the siddhas, great sages, and saintly persons from the upper planetary system began to shower flowers on the person of Lord Balaram, and sounds glorifying the supremacy of Lord Balaram were vibrated. All of them began to chant, "All glories to Lord Balaram. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet. By your killing this great demon Dvivida, you have initiated an auspicious era for the world." all such jubilant sounds of victory were heard from outer space. After killing the great dream in Dvivida, and being worshipped by showers of flowers and glorious sounds of victory, Balaram returned to his capital city, Dwarka. Thus ends Bhaktivedanta Purport of the second volume, 12th chapter of Krishna, the Deliverance of Dvivida.